action.
Hello, boys and girls. This is the course of environmental science, which is meant for BTech third year and fifth semester. The code for this particular subject is MC 501. As you know, this is the mandatory course of BTech third year, and I am G Chakravorty from Department of Chemistry, welcoming you to this course of environmental science.
Now, this is the 16th lecture of this particular course, which is environmental science. Totally, we are having 24 lectures, out of which this is the 16th one. And this lecture basically belongs to the third module, that is water and its pollution. And there's a part 3 of this particular module, right? First, we'll be having a quick recap about what we have studied in this 15 lectures previously, because this is the 16th lecture. So in the first 6 lectures we have seen the module general environment, and in that particular context we people have seen that what resources are, what are different resistances towards the resources, what is ecosystem, what are the different types of ecosystem, and what is terrestrial, what is aquatic ecosystem. Apart from this, we people have seen what different types of terrestrial ecosystems are there. We have seen the brief details of grassland ecosystem, desert ecosystem, right? And the aquatic ecosystem like pond and marine also we people have seen. Okay. After that, we have seen what is population, how it affects, and what are the different aspects of study of growth of population, right? Using different models like exponential growth model and logistic growth model. Okay. After that, we have seen what is environmental management, how environmental management is done, and several other aspects about general part of environment that we people have seen. Okay. Now, general was followed by air and its pollution, and in air we have seen what is air, what are the layers, what are the composition of layers, what are the height, what are the important facts present in each and every layer, goods, bad, etc. After that, we have seen different topics like pollutants, type of pollutants, criteria pollutants. We have studied each and every criteria pollutant. We have briefly seen what is acid rain, what is global warming, what is greenhouse effect, and all and all. Smog also we people have seen how to control air pollution, that also we people have seen. Okay. Now this particular lecture is very interesting because this belongs to the third module, that is water. And as soon as water is taken care of, the thing is that we need to know what the water qualities are, right? Because I have already told you again and again, and here also I have telling you that without knowing about the water and its quality, we will not be able to know whether water is polluted or not, right? In order to know whether water is polluted or not, we need to know about the water quality briefly, right? So first we'll know about water quality, then only we can know that whether the quality is good or bad, because without knowing we cannot judge it. In that context, we people have studied in the part 1 of this water and its pollution thing. We have studied briefly about the different parameters that determines the environmental water quality. Okay. Now, water quality is very important for us because see, quality varies from water to water body, and separate parameters are there for fresh water, separate for marine water quality, right? Now this water quality basically is determined using certain parameters like physical, chemical and biological parameters. Okay. Now these parameters also we people have studied in detail in the lecture number 14, right? And after this we have come across multiple things, right? Multiple things, by that I mean to say we have studied what is salinity. We have studied in the last lecture that what is BOD, what is COD, right? Why BOD is important. We have moreover seen most important thing, that is DO, how and what DO is, how dissolved oxygen can be determined, right, by the Winkler's process, and how actually it affects the growth of aquatic animals, mainly fishes, right? Now, there was a diagram using which people have seen that the growth of fishes is directly proportional to the amount of DO. If DO is more, fishes will be more healthy. DO is less, the fish population will decrease, right? So we have come across these things already in the previous lectures. We have seen what is biochemical or biological oxygen demand. We have seen the definition. Also, we have seen the brief details about the 5-day Bury test. We have seen why Bury test is done, how Bury test is done, okay, under what conditions we should seed the water, under what conditions we should not seed the water. If we seed the water, then what formula is to be used. If we are using unseeded water, then what formula is to be used. That we people have seen. Okay, so we have seen the we have seen it in a detailed way, right? After that, we have seen that in chemical oxygen demand, we use potassium chromate and high H2SO4, that is basically chromic acid, which, as per our knowledge, is a very strong oxidizing agent, right? And it is used to oxidize the waste that are present in water, and that way we actually do the chemical analysis of oxygen demand, that is chemical oxygen demand, right? Now, this is lecture number 16 water and its pollution, lecture number 16 water and its pollution, part 3, and the lecture highlights are nothing but oxygen demanding waste and pathogens, heavy metals, pesticides, and eutrophication. Very important topics are present here. First of all, we'll see what are oxygen demanding waste. Second, we'll see what pathogens are, what are heavy metals, what are pesticides. Here, we will see the brief about their effects into the living world, right? And finally, we'll see what is eutrophication. Okay, right? So let us move into the first topic, that is oxygen demanding wastes. Okay. Now, what are oxygen demanding waste? If we move into this particular thing, we'll come across the same formula that we have got from DO, right? Oxygen demanding waste, these are most important measures of water quality, is the amount of dissolved oxygen present in it. So, if water quality is of concern, then we should first test the DO of this water. How much water, how much oxygen is present in a given water sample, that we need to calculate first, right? The saturated value of DO, okay, in the order of 8 to 15 milligram per liter. Now, if 8 to 15 milligram per liter DO is present in water, then it is good, because it is a saturated value of DO. An optimum DO required for healthy fish and other aquatic animals is 5 to 8. Okay, so 8 to 15 is maximum, 5 to 8 is the requirement for healthy fish population, right? If DO drops, this DO should have been in capital. If DO drops, fish and other aquatic life is threatened, in extreme cases killed. Okay, so if DO is less, then fishes will suffer from breathing trouble like asthma. Okay, and ultimately, in the extreme cases, if there are no DO or very less DO, then the fish will die. Now, the bacterial composition of organic waste in the presence of dissolved oxygen is like this: oxygen, organic matter plus DO, basically dioxygen, will give us CO plus H2O. Okay, this is a general reaction which actually occurs inside water, right? Now, next we have three things, basically. Not three things, rather we have two things, because pathogens and heavy metals are the topics, and effects of cadmium and the further topics that are coming, effects of mercury, arsenic and lead, are subtopic of heavy metals. So first we should know what pathogens are. Now, if we come into the fact that what is a pathogen, it is said that it is an organic population that is biological hazard and occurs from fecal contaminations. Fecal contaminations of water can introduce a variety of pathogens into waterways, including bacteria, virus, protozoa, and parasitic worms. A very, very well pathogenic bacteria is Salmonella. Okay. Basically, if the waste products of the body are released into the water body, then what happens? this type of things are introduced into the water, like bacteria, virus, protozoa, and parasitic worms. Okay, so in India, we have seen in multiple places people directly do their excretion into the water bodies. Okay, now if excretion is done into the water bodies, then what will happen? This type of pathogens will be in contact with the water. Now, if people use this particular water, they will face from diarrhea, cholera, and all, right? So these are the basic. This is the basic meaning of pathogen, and the most common pathogen is salmonella, right? And in India, actually, this is quite common. That everybody will agree to me that it is quite common in our country, right? Now, apart from the pathogens, what can make us ill whenever we are using a certain water from a water body are the heavy metals, right? Now we should know what heavy metals are and how heavy metals are to be taken care. Okay. Now, if the specific gravity of a metal is greater than 4 or 5, right, then it is said to be a heavy metal, right? Heavy metal doesn't mean that it is of huge weight. No, not like that. It is measured in terms of specific gravity. Okay, if the specific gravity is greater than 4 or 5, then the metal is considered to be a heavy metal, and by default the heavy metals will have larger weight than others, right? Now it is not like that there are no metals apart from this 4, like mercury, lead, cadmium, and arsenic. Is it like this, that there are no metals that are heavier than this? Answer is no. There are multiple metals that are heavier than this, but they will not cause that much problem to water. But these particular elements will cause problem to water. Why? Because they are having some toxic effects. Number one. Number two, the specific gravity is greater than 4 to 5. Okay. Now here you can see the normal electronic configurations of these elements have been given. That arsenic is 33 and having the configuration of this, right? And mercury and plumbum and cadmium also, the configurations are given here. Okay, now all the powers, whatever should have been in powers, they have come down, okay, and become subscript, but that will be superscript, right? Just like 4d10 5s2, 4d10 will be up and 5s2 will be up. Okay, so I think you have understood, right, from your knowledge of chemistry in the previous classes. Okay, now let us go to the effects of this particular thing. These 4 elements. The first one is effect of cadmium. Okay, if cadmium is present within our if it enters our body, basically what type of problem we'll face? We'll face from kidney damage, we'll face from disorder of liver and brain, bone marrow will be affected, gastric and intestinal disorder will be there. Now Japan was affected by cadmium poisoning in the form of itai or ouch disease, which causes bone fragile. ouch and itai. Okay, so very funny names are there, right? Japanese name. Okay, so basically kidney damage, brain liver disorder, bone marrow disorder, and gastric problem are the major problems that we will face if we suffer from cadmium poisoning. Okay, let us see what next. Next we are having effect of mercury. As you know that mercury is present in thermometers. It is only liquid metal at room temperature, right? And mercury is very much different from other metals. Okay, so mercury is also a very important element for us, right? Now, as we know that if mercury poisoning is there, then what happens? We face from kidney damage, we may have blurred vision, we face from mental disorder, etc. Okay, so these are very dangerous things, right? Because if we face from kidney damage, then it is horrible, right? And vision problem is also not good. Mental disorder, if we are there, then we are finished, right? We are finished totally if we are suffering from mental disorder. Okay, now mercury has, as a toxic metal, came into limelight after the incident of Minamata disease. Now this is one of the major incidents that took place in Japan. You can see that the previous one also took place in Japan. Okay, this also took place in Japan in 1953. Minamata is a very common disease, right? That happened due to mercury. Okay, and it is basically named after the bay that is located, that was found to be the mother of this particular disease, Minamata Bay, right? So the disease came to be known as Minamata disease, right, and occurred in Japan. Now, what basically happened there? The nearby industries, the industries present in the adjoining areas of Minamata Bay, they released some mercury into the water, right? Maybe knowingly or unknowingly, I don't know. They released this mercury, and mercury is a very much glowy substance, right? Whenever it is actually goes to water, whenever it is filled in water, then it glows, right? And fishes get attracted by it. Now, once the fishes are attracted by this, that glowy element, okay, fine, I'll eat it up. Right? The fishes have eaten that particular mercury. Now, what happened inside the body of the fishes? The mercury changed to methyl mercury, right? Now, this methyl mercury went to the food chain by the fishes, right? And gradually it came to man. Okay, gradually it came to man. Again, these fishes were eaten by birds, so again it came to man, right? And when it came to man, it results in the formation of Minamata disease. Okay, so the flow of mercury in food chain is present right here. You can see it, that Hg2 plus. This is mercury, right? This particular mercury changed to methyl mercury, went to phytoplankton, then insects, then fishes, and finally to humans. Also from birds, also that came to humans, right? So Minamata is one of the major disease that occurred at that time, and it is very harmful. Okay, right? So next, what we are having, effect of lead, right? So let us see what is the effect of lead. Now, lead is that particular thing which caused the temporary collapse of Maggi, right? Maggi is one of the major branded noodles that occurs in India. But as you know, that a few years ago there was a huge case on Maggi, since Maggi was found to have large quantities of lead. When lead affects babies to a large extent, right? That's why Maggi was temporarily banned, and after that they came up with some clarifications and some advanced and better qualities, and then now Maggi is back in business. Okay, so lead is very dangerous, and it causes problem to liver. LIV here would have been there, right? Liver and kidney damage, mental retardation, and genetic modification. Okay, it is very much harmful to the kids, and also it is harmful to the adults, right? Okay, so these are the effects of lead, right? And last but not least, horrible thing is arsenic. Horrible, I'll say. Just go to Google and search for the pictures of arsenic pollution or effects of arsenic pollution. You will cry. I assure you will cry by seeing the pictures. But what disaster arsenic makes when it enters the body. Huge problem to skin occurs. Okay, just try it out. Just go to Google and search for arsenic poisoning. Right, it affects liver. It damages bone marrow, cellular elements of blood, may lead to skin cancer. This is what I was talking about. This thing is horrible. See the pictures, you will know by yourself that how horrible arsenic poisoning is. Okay. Now this is our last and final topic, that is eutrophication. Okay. Now what is eutrophication? Now, as per the definition is written, if we go to the statement that is written, eutrophication is an enrichment of water by nutrient salts that causes structural changes in the ecosystem, right? Such as depletion of fish species, general deterioration of water quality, and other effects that reduces and precludes use. Now, what is the meaning of this particular thing? It is a process which actually changes the quality of water. That we people have understood, that eutrophication is such a process which will change the quality of water. Now the question is how it is going to change the quality of water. How? Water changing quality of water gets changed if amount of DO is more, amount of DO is less. Similarly, it gets changed whenever nutrients are more and nutrients are less. I'm trying to say that nutrients in a particular amount is important for each and every organism, right? Each and every organism should have a particular amount of nutrient that is mandatory for its survival. But whenever over nutrients are given, right? If nutrients are over an excess in amount, then what will happen? Again, it will become harmful for animals to survive. Okay, so eutrophication is such a process which enriches the nutrient quantity present in water. It will enrich the water by nutrient salts. Okay, and due to that, what will happen? The amount of fishes that are present in water, that will decrease. Okay, it will result in depletion of fish. It will result in deterioration of water quality. Not only that, what will happen? It basically results in the formation of algae in water, due to which sunlight will be blocked. The fishes will be suffocating. Right. Also, what will happen? The other organisms will die due to lack of oxygen. Okay. If we see the image that is present here, we can clearly understand that this particular area, I'm marking with green, right? This particular area is nothing but the land. Okay, this is the land area. Now this land area is actually a field which contains fertilizer. Now this particular fertilizer, right, it is used for optimum growth of the plant. Now what happens whenever rainfall occurs? This particular fertilizers, it moves into the nearby water bodies. Okay, it moves into the ground, and also due to leaching, it moves into the nearby water bodies. Now these particular fertilizers are basically NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. So these are actually nutrients for the plants, but whenever they goes to water in excess amount, what will happen? They will result in eutrophication. How? Due to them, this type of plants or grasses or algae will grow over the water bodies. Since they are good for vegetation, fertilizers, they're good for vegetation. Okay, so what will happen? They will result in vegetation growth on the water body, and if vegetation growth is there on the water body, this particular vegetation, they will use the dissolved oxygen. Okay, also there will be other microorganisms which will use the dissolved oxygen, and sunlight will be blocked, right? So due to that, the fishes will suffocate and they will die, and after some time, after few days or months, this algae will also die, because after all, what will happen if the fishes die? Then the balance of nature between plants and animals will be broken down, right? If the balance of nature is destroyed, then eventually everybody will die. Everybody belonging to that ecosystem will die. Okay, so eutrophication is very, very much harmful for us, and we should try to stop it out. Okay, so this was the total things that we people have seen in this particular lecture. This was the completion of this particular lecture with this topic, and in this lecture we have seen that what pathogens are, what is water quality deterioration by pathogens, and we have seen that about the oxygen demanding waste. Okay, also we people have seen about the effects of the heavy metals, and the horrible effects are really horrible. Most of them affects the kidney, liver and lungs, right, and causes different other problems also. We have seen effects for 4 different diseases: the Minamata disease, the Itai disease, and arsenic. There is a skin cancer problem, and also we have seen problems of lead, right? And after that, last but not least, we have seen that what eutrophication is, how eutrophication occurs, and how it is harmful for the animal life. Okay, the fish life, right? That also we will have seen. Okay, this was all about today's lecture, and in the next lecture we'll see about some different topics of the water and fish pollution module. So till then, thank you so much. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you.